You're listening to The Jake Asman Show on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
Trouble down in Jacksonville. Stop me if you have heard that one before. The Jacksonville Jaguars are terrible. Shocker, I know. But they're not just terrible because they lack talent. They're terrible because they decided to hire a college football coach with zero NFL experience, and it is blowing up in spectacular fashion. Urban Meyer is an absolute clown. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to say it. He never should have been hired by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the latest report from NFL media is that Urban Meyer is calling his coaches losers, and he got into heated arguments with players. Now, I could read you some excerpts from the story, and I think I will because it's honestly quite funny. It really is. Urban Meyer, apparently, in a meeting with a bunch of his assistant coaches, revealed to them that he's a winner and that his coaches are losers. I'm reading from the story. Quote, according to several people informed of the contents of the meeting, Meyer challenged each coach individually to explain when they've ever won and forcing them to defend their resumes. I mean, Urban Meyer is a winner, guys. His coaches, they are losers. Remember that. Urban Meyer had a heated argument with Marvin Jones, who's one of the more respected players on the team. I mean, Urban Meyer treats these professional players like they're in college. It's not going to work. I don't even want to take credit for getting this one right. I think anyone with a brain saw this was not going to work. The Jaguars are 2-10. They're averaging 10 points per game. Trevor Lawerence, the can't-miss prospect, generational talent. He's being failed by the people around him. He's being failed. Trevor Lawerence has one touchdown pass his last 5 games. No one talks about it because 7 people care down in Jacksonville. But, Zach Wilson threw a couple of interceptions. He's already a bust. I mean, it's such nonsense. Justin Fields is a bust already. No one says a peep about Trevor Lawerence. The Jaguars being a disaster with Urban Meyer was the easiest thing in the world to spot coming into the year. I mean, remember week 4, Urban Meyer doesn't take the plane back to Jacksonville? He stops at his bar in Columbus, Ohio, and he's teaching a random woman that's not his wife how to snap a football? Or is that not what he was doing? All right, that's right. She was dancing close to his lap. I mean, come on. Urban Meyer also hired a strength coach that had a racist background that he then had to fire 2 days after he hired him. Or sorry, he resigned. The Jaguars are such a mess. Such a mess. And they had the opportunity to get it right. They had the opportunity to go out there and hire a top-notch coach. They had the first pick. They had Trevor Lawerence. They had cap space. They had multiple first-round picks. And what does Urban Meyer do? He goes out there and he hires a strength coach who then gets fired. He signs Tim Tebow. He has Trevor Lawerence lose reps in training camp with Gardner Minshew. And then, let's go back to the draft. He decides to draft a running back and Travis Etienne, who's now out for the year. But before that, he called him a third down back. Oh, we got a great third down back. I mean, get a clue. The Jaguars are such a mess. Such a mess. And you know what's funny? There were so many people going into the draft process that said, well, if the Jets get the number 1 pick, Trevor Lawrence should refuse to play for the New York Jets. He should pull an Eli Manning. Remember those people? Jeremy Schnapp? Oh, the Jets don't deserve Trevor Lawrence. They don't deserve him. As if the Jets would have been the first team that was bad to get the first pick. They would have been the first team to be really bad. They got the first pick. So, right, Trevor Lawrence should not play for the Jets. So instead, he should go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have never had a modicum of success. They had the 1 year they went to the championship game with Doug Marrone, and they fell apart after that. And they've been bad before that and after that. At least the Jets have won a Super Bowl. At least the Jets have been to back-to-back championship games in this millennium. I mean, please. At least the Jets went out there and hired what everyone thought was the top coach on the market in Robert Saleh. At least the Jets went out there and got Zach Wilson, a legitimate offensive coordinator, and Mike LaFleur, drafted Elijah Moore, drafted Michael Carter, signed Corey Davis. At least the Jets are trying. What does Trevor Lawerence have? I think he's still going to be a good quarterback, but they're failing him right now. But I want to point out how silly it was for those people to have those takes about the New York Jets because it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And Trevor Lawerence has been worse than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's won Rookie of the Week twice. Has he been great this year? No. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Zach Wilson's been awesome. He hasn't been. But he's been a rookie who at times has flashed some otherworldly potential. But we talk about Zach Wilson nationally like he's already a bust. What's the excuse for Trevor Lawerence? Gardner Minshew's got better numbers than Trevor Lawerence. Maybe Jacksonville should have just kept Gardner Minshew. How come that take doesn't exist? Not to mention the fact the Jets have had all these injuries that have affected them. I mean, the Jets are better run than Jacksonville. They have a better future than Jacksonville. But please tell me more about how Trevor Lawerence should refuse to play for the New York Jets. As if Adam Gase was going to be the one coaching Trevor Lawerence this year if that had happened. I mean, it is a disaster in Jacksonville. Honestly, as someone who talks about the Texans locally here in Houston, the Jaguars at 2-10, they might prevent Houston from getting the second pick in the draft because the Texans might beat Jacksonville when they play next week. And if that happens, I don't know if Aiden Hutchinson is going to be a Houston Texan or Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, the Jaguars need to fire Urban Meyer. The fact of the matter is, it's not even just Urban Meyer. So they hire Urban Meyer, and then they go out there and draft Trevor Lawerence. And who's his offensive coordinator? Brian Schottenheimer. I mean, seriously? It's a joke. Read the story if you haven't in NFL media. I mean, it is fantastic. He's calling his own coaching staff a bunch of losers. Marvin Jones, who's one of the more respected guys on the team, a veteran, apparently got so angry with Urban Meyer's public and private criticism of the receiver group that he left the facility until other staff members convinced him to come back. Also got into it with Urban Meyer at practice. I mean, imagine Urban Meyer telling a bunch of grown men that they're a bunch of losers in a coaching meeting. Forcing them to defend their resumes. You hired them, Urban. Not to mention, Darrell Bevell was also a guy that was brought in by Urban Meyer. I mean, goodness. Joe Cullen, great defensive coordinator. Well, remember, he was also fired shortly after he was hired at University of Mississippi after being charged with drunk and disorderly conduct. Then he got arrested in 2006 for driving under the influence as the defensive line coach of the Lions. So Urban Meyer's ripping his own staff. He hired all them. Oh, I didn't even mention the James Robinson situation where Trevor Lawerence had to come out this week and be like, hey, buddy, we need this guy to be playing. He's really good, and there's not enough good players on this team. They are a mess. And if Urban Meyer somehow keeps his job, the Jacksonville Jaguars will continue to be a joke. It is not going to work. Shad Khan, the owner in Jacksonville, needs to admit he made a mistake. And it's not happening for Urban Meyer. Please tell me more about how Trevor Lawerence shouldn't play for the Jets. Please tell me more how Zach Wilson's a bust. Anyone say a peep about Trevor Lawerence? I'm going to bring Brendan Riley into this conversation real quick. Brendan's my producer. He's a Lions fan. Brendan, you got to hear about how bad the Lions are. You got to hear about how dysfunctional they are. I mean, am I wrong? Does anyone talk about Trevor Lawerence in Jacksonville?
You almost forget he exists.
It's unbelievable, bro. I mean, me as a Jet fan, you as a Lion fan, I talk about the Texans for a living down here. They're the jokes. They're the laughing stocks. Nobody says a word about Jacksonville until now. Until now, maybe people realize maybe there's 7 fans in Jacksonville could come together and rally and get Urban Meyer canned because he's got to go. He's got to go. It's embarrassing.
I think Lawerence has had the quietest, and it doesn't mean he's a bust, but the quietest bad rookie season of a top pick I can ever remember.
I would love to know what Jeremy Schnapp is thinking right now, or Mike Greenberg, the leaders in the clubhouse of the Trevor shouldn't play for the Jets. Well, good. I'm glad he's in Jacksonville. His career will be wasted unless they make significant changes there, because that's where this is headed. Trevor Lawerence hasn't thrown a touchdown pass since Halloween. Zach Wilson had 3 last week. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Zach Wilson's been great this year. He's been a rookie. He's had his issues. But my point is the coverage of Zach Wilson and the coverage of Justin Fields compared to what's said about Trevor Lawerence is laughable. It is laughable. Trevor Lawrence's yards per attempt is historically low. No one bats an eye. Explain that one to me. Explain that one to me. Oh, well, they hired Urban Meyer. They hired a great coach with zero NFL experience. David Culley might be a better head coach than Urban Meyer. At least he stays out of the spotlight. You won't see David Culley at a bar in Ohio teaching a woman how to snap the football that's not his wife. You won't see David Culley screaming at his coaching staff, calling them a bunch of losers. You won't see David Culley benching James Robinson, who's arguably their best player on offense. Remember, the Jets were undeserving of Trevor Lawerence when they were 0-12. But Jacksonville, a team that finished 1-15, they deserve Trevor. Well, good. I'm glad they have Trevor Lawerence. They could waste his career. Maybe they'll ruin Trevor Lawerence worse than the way the Jets ruined Sam Darnold. Maybe that will happen. It's hilarious. Urban Meyer talked about hiring a great staff in Jacksonville less than a year ago. He hired these guys. And now he's sitting them down in a staff meeting and calling them a bunch of losers? Oh, my God. What a mess. They should fire him today. Admit you made a mistake and move on. That job is still attractive because people still probably believe in Trevor Lawrence's great potential. So go and get a real coach. Doug Peterson's out there. Offensive guy. Won a Super Bowl. Deserves a second shot. If I'm Jacksonville, I'm hiring Doug Peterson today. Hire a real coach. A joke. An absolute joke. Robert Saleh with the Jets. He's had issues. Believe me, he hasn't been perfect. Light years better than anything I have seen from Urban Meyer. Dan Campbell has a terrible team. You know what? His players play hard for him. Lions aren't having these type of stories. Dan Campbell, light years better than Urban Meyer. I mean, give me a break. Laughable. Laughable. The Urban Meyer is going to resurrect the Jaguars storyline. Easiest thing to predict. It's just going to fail in spectacular fashion. This is just like Steve Spurrier. This is just like Bobby Petrino. I mean, honestly, Adam Gase probably looks like Vince Lombardi compared to Urban Meyer, and that pains me to say. At least Adam Gase went to the playoffs with the Dolphins. Urban Meyer's going to be one and done and win 2 or 3 games, and that's it. What a joke. But please, tell me more. Trevor Lawerence should refuse to play for the Jets. He should pull an Eli Manning. Comical. Agree or disagree? If you disagree, you're going to have to tell me why, because good luck defending this one. 800-224-2004 is the number. You also could tweet me. I'm on Twitter at Jake Asman. That's Jake Asman. A lot still to talk about. We'll talk more about this storyline as we go. We'll get to all the college football playoff scenarios. We now know the Final 4 teams. We'll break down how it happened. Heisman's tonight. Plenty to still talk about. Stay with us. Jake Asman hanging out with you here on a Saturday. You're listening to Sports Map Radio.
The Dave Smith Show.
Now, Steve, the Lakers